Episode 11. Too Awkward. Lux Villa District Sales Hall. Isn't that the best high-end villa district in New York City? Why is the next check-in location there? Could it be that the system will reward me with a villa next time? A string of question marks appeared in James's mind. His face was full of a myriad of emotions. It was not that his reaction was too great, just that this district was too famous in New York City. Lux Villa District was a development project under the banner of the largest real estate development company in New York, Landscape Corporation. Those who could buy a house there were either rich, noble, superstars, or high officials. In short, only the top 1% could get to stay there. In the neighborhood, any villa was worth hundreds of millions. Ordinary people didn't even dare to enter the residential area, let alone own one. If that's really the case, it can solve my housing issue. I won't need to rent Glenn's house anymore. Just as well, at least I can stop looking at that annoying face of his. James could not help but chuckle as the thoughts flashed in his mind. System, come out, James called the system in his mind. Yes, host. May I ask what it is? This time the system appeared in a jiffy, not daring to show the slightest hint of neglect. Can you tell me what I get for the next check-in? James wanted to prepare for it in advance. I'm sorry, host. The system's reward will be randomly distributed after you successfully check in. That's why I can't tell you what it is right now. The system's answer was a letdown. Cut the crap and quickly spit it, or do you want me to format you? James was worried that the system was just tricking him, so he threatened it most effectively. Please spare my life, host. Every reward is given randomly. I really don't know anything. The system almost started crying when it heard James's words. It begged for mercy in a trembling voice. It was filled with righteous fury. This host was too cruel. Why did he have to format him all the time? Forget it. Scram. The system probably didn't dare to trick it anymore, so James told it to leave. Since there was no time limit for him to check into a location, he was not in a rush. He could not be bothered to think about it for the time being. He will go to the sales department of Lux Villa District tomorrow. He could find out what kind of reward he could get when the time came. It was not like he couldn't wait for a single night. Besides, Vanessa was still in the living room outside, and the key to the Ferrari sports car would also be delivered soon. He did not have time to think about this. James found a big garbage bag and threw all the photos on the wall and Natalie's personal belongings into it. He made the bed before he turned around and walked out of the bedroom. Throughout the whole process, he did not feel any pain or grief. A gold digger like Natalie was not worthy for him to lose his sleep over. Sorry, the bedroom is a little messy, so I cleaned it up. What do you want to drink? James walked to the fridge and looked at Vanessa, who was sitting on the sofa elegantly. The more he looked at her, the more flavorful she felt. Her style and aura changed every moment, and she was full of charm. One moment she would be a coquettish girl, while the next moment she would be bold and daring. Sometimes she would be a helpless and frail girl who needed his protection. In other times, she would be as gentle as water. She was really hard to see through. James felt that her entire body was filled with an indescribable strong temptation and allure. He could not help but want to approach her and unveil all her colors. It was a mysterious and unfathomable emotion. That kind of temperament was unique among thousands of women. She was different from ordinary people. The more he looked at her, the more fascinated he became. Give me a bottle of mineral water. Vanessa smiled and didn't request anything fancy. The awkward thing was, when he opened the broken refrigerator, it was empty. There was no drink. Vanessa, wait for me. I'll go downstairs and buy a few bottles of water. James could only say that awkwardly. Okay. It was as if she treated her words like gold, just going along with whatever he said. She was like a young lady from a noble family. James turned around and walked out the door. He estimated that it wouldn't be long before the express delivery arrived. He could buy water and take the car keys together. As soon as he got downstairs, James saw a red sports car parked outside the corridor. His heart skipped a beat. James unconsciously quickened his pace. With the help of the dim lights in the neighborhood, he was sure that it was a brand new Ferrari 812. Although he wanted to touch it, he didn't dare. This thing was very expensive. If it wasn't the one he got as the reward, he would be suspected as a car thief. Besides, if it was damaged or scratched, he wouldn't be able to afford the repairs. Maybe it was because he had been poor for too many years. Although James owned a property worth billions now, his mindset was still stuck in poverty. Most likely, he wouldn't be able to change his thinking and ways in a short period. This feeling of wanting to touch but not daring to made him feel a little itchy. "You're my little apple. No matter how much I love you, I don't think it's too much." Just as he was stuck in a dilemma, James's phone rang. Seeing that it was an unfamiliar number, he guessed that the express delivery had arrived. "Hello, may I ask if you are Mr. James?" When the line connected, the courier's voice came from the other side. "Yes, I am. You're the courier, right?" James's tone carried a hint of impatience. "Yes, you have an important express delivery. May I know where you are right now?" The courier remained polite, though. James told the delivery man his location. Then he stared at the sports car that made his heart beat faster. He could not take his eyes off it. He really liked this sports car too much. He had never driven a car in his entire life. It seemed like he finally had the chance to fulfill his wish. "Hello, sir. Are you Mr. James?" While James was standing next to the Ferrari and imagining all kinds of scenes, the courier arrived behind him. "Yes, I am." James turned around and nodded. "This is your express delivery. Please sign for it." The courier respectfully handed over an exquisite delivery box along with a delivery form. James did not waste any time and signed the express delivery immediately. He was too excited and nervous, like going on his first date. After signing the express delivery, he didn't wait for the courier to leave. He opened the express delivery box and took out the car key in front of him. He pressed the button. With a chirp that sounded like heavenly bells to his ears, the indicator of the bright red Ferrari 812 flashed twice. The lights of the car were instantly lit. James felt that the sound was even more wonderful than the music of nature. Without another word, he opened the car door and sat in the driver's seat. At this moment, he could even hear his own heartbeat clearly. This was the first time in his life that he had ever sat in a sports car. Never did he imagine that he would sit in such a high-level sports car for the first time. More importantly, this was a sports car that belonged to him. Even the courier looked at James with envy in his eyes. However, soon after, the envy in his eyes changed into disdain. James was too young. For him to be able to drive such a sports car at his age, he couldn't rely on himself. It must be because of his parents. However, James had no time to care about what the courier was thinking. He was immersed in the excitement of enjoying his sports car. He caressed the steering wheel and touched the gear buttons. James was instantly captivated. This is indeed a $500,000 luxury sports car. It just feels different. James played with the steering wheel with one hand and muttered to himself in satisfaction. This red was definitely going to attract a lot of eyes if he drove it out. Making out with the girls was the simplest of things now. After reeling in the waves of excitement for a few minutes, James finally remembered that Vanessa was still waiting for him. He reluctantly got out of the car and walked towards the small supermarket at the entrance of the neighborhood. "Boss, give me 2 bottles of mineral water, the most expensive one." This time, James felt like acting generous. "Yo, Tucker, you win the lottery? You're so generous today. $5. The young shopkeeper looked at James and gave him a wink while teasing him. James looked at her and smiled but did not explain. He took out his phone to pay the bill, but reality struck him once again. To buy that bag for his ex-girlfriend Natalie, he had really used all his savings. He only had about $3 left. Damn it, this is awkward. James felt it funny in his heart when he saw this scene. He was worth billions and was driving a $500,000 luxury car. Yet he couldn't buy a water bottle for $5. In this era where money was the only thing that mattered, having a single cent less on the counter would make one feel embarrassed. His face reddened like a ripe peach.